Is NASA really firing 3 rockets into the eclipse? If you guys have been on your phones at all over the past couple weeks, then y'all already know that April 8th is going to be a once-in-a-lifetime eclipse. And now on top of that, there's news that NASA plans on shooting 3 rockets into the eclipse. And the scientists over at CERN are firing up their Hadron Collider on April 8th at the exact same time as NASA plans on shooting these rockets. So we got a lot to cover. There's a lot going on. So make sure you guys stick around because you're not going to want to miss this. Everybody has been freaking out over the upcoming eclipse that is going to take place on April 8th. And honestly, I don't really blame them. From what I can see, this is not going to be your average solar eclipse. Already, states like Texas, Oklahoma, Ohio, Indiana, and now Niagara Falls have all declared a state of emergency in preparation for the upcoming solar eclipse. Officials are warning citizens to stock up on essentials like groceries, gas, medicine, and other things like that. And they are telling people to run their errands beforehand so they can stay inside in the safety of their own home during the event. And while they claim this urgency has to do with the influx of people that are expected to flock to the areas where the solar eclipse is expected to be most visible, people aren't fully convinced. And honestly, neither am I. And let me tell you why. If you take the path of the 2017, 2023, and 2024 solar eclipse, it makes a big A, which is the Paleo-Hebrew sign for Aleph. Then if you take the 2017 and 2024 solar eclipse paths, it makes a big X, which is the Paleo-Hebrew sign for Tav. Revelations chapter 22, verse 13 through 14 reads, I am the Aleph and the Tav, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. Blessed are those who do his commandments, that they may have the right to the tree of life, and may enter through the gates into the city. Around the area where the 2017 and 2024 eclipse crosses paths, there are 2 towns in Illinois. One of them is Alpha, Illinois, and the other is Omega, Illinois. Could this possibly be a sign from God, signaling to us that something big is coming? Well, if you look at Matthew chapter 12, verse 32, it says, He answered and said to them, An evil and adulterous generation craves a sign, and so no sign will be given to it, except the sign of Jonah the prophet. Evil and adulterous generations, huh? I can't say that doesn't sound like the world we live in today. But what's the sign of Jonah? Well, hold on to that thought for just a second, alright? I'm going to circle back to it in just 1 minute. If you look back at the 2017 eclipse, it passed through 7 cities named Salem. Salem usually represents a place of peace and righteousness throughout the Bible. Now, exactly 7 years later, we have yet another eclipse going over 7 cities, but this time, it's crossing over 7 cities named Nineveh. Nineveh was the great city where the prophet Jonah was sent by God to deliver a message of repentance. Some believe that this is the sign that they're talking about in Matthew chapter 12, verse 39. So, are you starting to see why people are a little uneasy about this upcoming eclipse? Not to mention the fact that this upcoming eclipse will also be going through Rapture, Indiana. And for those of you who think that this is all just a coincidence, God said in the book of Luke that before he comes back, he will give us signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars. Luke chapter 21, verses 25 through 26 reads, And there shall be signs in the sun and moon and stars, and upon the earth distress of nations, and perplexity for the roaring of the sea and the billows. Men fainting for fear and for expectation of the things which are coming on the world. For the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And guys, these aren't the only signs he's giving us in the sky. He also gave us a warning in Joel chapter 2, verse 31. The sun will be turned to darkness and the moon to blood before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. This verse could be referring to the upcoming eclipse. But what about the second half? And the moon to blood? Well, do you guys remember back in 2020 when these articles were published talking about how the moon isn't as white as it once was? And how over time it's becoming more and more red? This article reads, the moon is losing its white glow and becoming increasingly red, all because it's getting rusty. Scientists are referring to this rust-colored substance known as hematite. The word hematite comes from the Greek word haima, which means blood red. So the moon is literally turning blood red as we speak. And these articles were published back in 2020. So think about how much of the moon is potentially red today. And guys, there is a lot more going on April 8th, like the Devil Comet. The Devil Comet will be passing by Earth for the first time in over 71 years. According to scientists, the comet won't be visible to any sky gazers at night, but it will be visible when the moon's shadow temporarily blocks the sun's face from view on April 8th. They say that Devil's Comet got its nickname due to the formation of the two horns made up of ice and gas that can be seen following the comet. But I want you to take a look at these pictures and let me know what you guys think. I mean, I do see the horn shapes on some of them, but I don't know, guys. Naming it Devil's Comet seems a little out there and just a little sus to me. I mean, I don't see blatant enough horns to really justify them calling it that, but you know, that's just me, so what do I know? And despite all of the warning signs and literally all of the biblical prophecies that appear to be coming true right before our very eyes, NASA just announced that they plan on launching 3 rockets into the dark spot of the eclipse. They are calling it Project APEP, which definitely throws some red flags to me, since APEP was the ancient Egyptian god of evil, darkness, and destruction. He was the enemy of the sun god Ra, a malicious force who could never be entirely vanquished. They plan to send the rockets up at exactly 3:33 p.m. And let's not forget about the scientists over at CERN, who plan on firing up their Hadron Collider on, yep, you guessed it, April 8th. I mean, come on, guys. Of all the days that they could have fired this thing back up, they literally chose the same exact day as the eclipse. I mean, it checks out, being that this is the same exact company who chose to build a large portion of CERN directly on a Colosseum. Back in the Roman times, this town and the temple were devoted to Apollyon the Destroyer. So CERN is literally in the same town that's been dedicated to the god of destruction, chaos, and the destroyer. But that's probably just a coincidence too. And guys, they haven't even fully fired it up yet, and they're already discovering some pretty alarming things over at CERN. Just last week, actually, they reported a new discovery. According to the scientists at CERN, a mysterious entity was detected inside their particle collider. Physicists claim that they have captured and calculated the characteristics of a ghost-like structure, an invisible entity that can alter the paths of particles. Until now, the overwhelming majority of scientists and researchers at CERN have worked under the assumption that there are 3 spatial dimensions and 1 other dimension, time. What many are calling a 4D ghost is an added dimension that was picked up in the particle accelerator experiment, and it seems to be connected at a higher level. Now, although this is a really fascinating and a really big discovery, nobody really knows the implications that could come with this new 4D element. So, who knows what's going to happen on the eclipse? Who knows what kind of world or portal they may be opening? The fact that they've already found this new dimension is freaky enough, let alone the fact that they plan on experimenting on the day of the eclipse. And guys, I'm not saying they're working together. I'm not saying these are correlated or have anything to do with each other. But did y'all see the NASA debriefing the other day? The main spokesperson for NASA literally slips up and says solar ellipse. And not once does he correct himself. Not once does he try to, take a step back. He pauses, and then he kind of tries covering it up by explaining how the moon will be in front of the sun. But you can tell the way that ellipse just rolled off of his tongue that he said that quite a few times before. Now, I'm not 100% behind all the science, or I can't really connect the dots on what exactly they're doing to work together. But what I think it might have something to do with, y'all know how an ellipse works, right? How you can be on one side of a room, your buddy can be on another, and if the ceiling is curved just the right way, the dome shape, it'll actually deflect your voice off of the ceiling and project it to them. So, could it be possible that somehow NASA is using a type of ellipse type shape to deflect something to CERN and CERN back to NASA? And if so, what are they using for that dome type shape to make this ellipse work? Now, I'm going to leave it there. You guys connect the dots. But I'm just saying that's kind of what I'm thinking. I may be spot on, I may be off, I don't know. But let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments below. And let me know what you guys are hearing about this solar eclipse. Is there anything I missed? Is there any big news that you guys are hearing? Keep me updated, keep me informed. And as always, don't forget to follow my page, like this, share it with a friend, and stay safe, stay smart, and make sure you guys keep your heads up and pay attention. Right now, things are changing drastically. You don't know what to expect. You don't know what's going to happen. So make sure you guys watch each other's back, stay safe, stay smart, and as always, stay curious. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the support, and I will see you guys on the next video.